Good morning on a Tuesday. Traffic safety expert Trooper Steve here. Stephen Montiero with WKMG News 6 in Results 1 on a beautiful Tuesday morning. A little chilly today. I've got my glasses with me today so I can see. I'm having trouble seeing things up close. So we are rocking some shades. But when I'm talking to you, it's not that bad because the camera's kind of far. Simple topic today, something that I've done probably 1,000 different times that really ticks off just about everybody, and that is shutting down a road. And now, it's never done, hear me out, shutting down a road is never done with the purpose of making people upset. Believe it or not, it is done with the purpose of keeping you safe. You might be wondering, well, really? Yes, really. Let's think about this. Crash occurs. Boom, 2 cars hit. In the state of Florida, you are allowed to move your vehicle from the road if there are no injuries, if the vehicle is still drivable. We have a kind of a clear the road policy. Now, some people choose not to move their vehicles, and then a law enforcement officer will show up on the scene and be like, yo, move your car. This is something that I think is just a miscommunication. I think people think, oh, I got into a crash, the cop needs to see this. Look, I've investigated so many crashes that I don't need to see vehicle final rest because I can find the evidence. I could see the AOC, the area of collision that takes place. I could see the damage. Speaking with the drivers, I was headed south. All right, which way were you headed? I was headed north. That guy made a left in front of me and boom, we had a crash. All right, cool. Violation of right-of-way. But where things get really complicated are more along the lines of your serious injury crashes, anything criminal, or unfortunately anything fatal, anything that has fatalities involved with the crash. So sometimes you will see, not sometimes, we see it quite often. I've reported on with you. We've talked about it. We've all, look, I have gotten to meet so many of you guys over the years that I feel when we do this, it's just me talking to an individual. So you at home, I know you've been traveling. You see the delays, the traffic is backed up, and by the time you get up to the crash, it's one car far off and to the side, and they've got 3 lanes shut down. And you're sitting there thinking, why are they shutting the lanes down when the car's on the shoulder? Well, we use a phrase, at least I did with Lieutenant Kim Montez, and the best law enforcement communicator in the world, Lieutenant Kim Montez. We used to try to explain things so that people can get a normal understanding without using law enforcement terms, right? So let's think about this. If you're traveling out on the roadway, you're driving, a nasty crash occurs, and it's just you and another driver, and now, unfortunately, someone loses their life. It is up to people who weren't on scene to determine what happened, and here's the phrase, write the last chapter of someone's life. What happened there? How did this person die? What circumstances led up to this crash? A crash does just not occur. Things do happen before there. There is evidence that occur before a crash, whether it's yaw marks, whether it's braking, whether it's a sharp turn in the roadway, and things like that. And we have to find those things. So that's part of the reason it gets completely shut down, because they have to determine, all right, is there evidence out in this road, and they can't let you drive on it. Think about it. Would you want someone, if your uncle got into a devastating crash and lost their life, you would want that road closed for as long as possible in order for those crash investigators to determine what exactly happened out on the roadway. And that's one of the big reasons my mom keeps texting me, just so that's the noise. Just so we can figure out what happened. So the biggest reason for any major road shutdown is protect everybody on scene, perseverance of any type of evidence, and thirdly, to avoid secondary crashes. Now, when the roadway is at, let me rephrase that. We have seen from the sky, because I give you those images, that you'll see the markings in the road, you'll see photos, and then you'll see a lot of other equipment and scanners. If we allowed traffic to flow through this area, then nothing would get picked up. Nothing would happen. So you've got to be very aware of situations like that. So what I want to do, let's see if there's any crashes by us. Let me stop real quick before we leave. See if we can find one that's maybe close to us and go pay it a brief visit, see what's going on. I can tell you right now, Central Florida, there are, holy cow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. 28 pending crashes right now in 9 counties. What are you guys doing this morning? My goodness. I didn't know it was that bad out there right now. Y'all are reckless. So there was a mess along I-4, right? So westbound I-4, we had a pretty nasty crash just a little while ago at Maitland. They shut it down. And they shut it down because they chose that the crash didn't have injuries, but we want to stop all traffic so we can take these crashed cars and move them out of the road. I think what I'm trying to find, and while I'm talking to you guys, is why would someone be upset that the road's being closed for a crash? I think maybe that for me, I'm struggling with the question, so I'm just talking about the obvious, right? That's like saying, why do you eat when you're hungry? Right? Like, yeah, we close the road if there are crashed cars in the road. So this is also a thing. If a roadway is shut down by any type of authority, fire department, fire rescue, EMS, law enforcement, roadway construction, road ranger, and you violate that, you're in trouble. You could, depending on the scene that you drive into, you could be arrested. You could be 100% ticketed for entering into a zone. And think about also what you're doing. You are destroying evidence. If you got into a minor crash or serious crash, you wouldn't care how long the road was shut down until they were done doing what they do, right? So this is all, it's part of the process, is closing a roadway. Now, the biggest closures we see is the fatal crashes, but then I just had, I don't know if someone's watching right now, I just got a Facebook message. I appreciate that. Interesting. Okay. Why are they closed down for up to an hour for even minor crashes? This is a good one. Because law enforcement and first responders are on standby. Does that make sense? On standby. They're out, they're about, and it's almost like they're waiting at the starting line, waiting for the call. All the other stuff that comes up is is on a second level of standby, like almost extremely reactionary based, and then still have to prep. What am I talking about? Your tow trucks for even just a minor crash. Excuse me. If you think that there's a tow truck driver like us right now sitting here like, all right, I'm waiting for FHP to call me. I'm waiting for that's not how it works. They are doing their own thing, and then there's a rotation list. They have a 30-minute response time from the time that they're called. If sometimes we're on minute 32, and then all of a sudden that tow truck can't respond out because something happened, that timer resets because we have to call another tow truck company out, and we have to allot them the exact same time. So just because the police get there or fire rescue theirs, we're not towing the truck. The fire truck's not bringing your truck back to your insurance company. So there is a activation process, I think we can call it, because the crash, 911 call, police respond, fire rescue get there. Of course, the tow truck is never called out before law enforcement gets there. Got to be careful with those, some of the vultures. Speak to the responding law enforcement and see who they're going to use. We call this a rotational wrecker list, and it's a tow log that we have people, reputable tow trucks that are inspected annually, so that they're allowed to respond. But that's also another delay for super minor stuff, and we've got to be careful about that. So there's aren't any major crashes by us currently, and looking pretty good when it comes to locally. But being able to just talk about this is super simple. It's fun to break it down a little bit with you guys, because for me, it's obvious, but when I tell someone, hey, the tow truck has 30 minutes to respond, some people don't know that. Or, hey, we're going to close down everything because just because the crash happened here doesn't mean there's not evidence over here, right? So debris flies, especially if you've got to get somebody, if someone wasn't in a crosswalk, if there was fatality involved, all these things are calculated to the inch of their location when they are out and about. So let's hop out here on John Young this morning. We'll just drive around for a second, and we can just briefly chat about lane closures and things like that. I'm trying to see if there's any incidents or anything close to me we can roll up to. But shutting down a road is extremely inconvenient. I understand that, but it is also extremely necessary. If you don't want the secondary crash, sometimes it's worth just shutting the roadway down, because you guys know this. You do know this. How often have we been reporting on a crash and suddenly I'm sitting there oh, well, it was about to clear, but this bozo just rear-ended a road ranger, or this guy just hit the guardrail. It happens all the time. But if they would have shut the roadway down, you would have complained, but you wouldn't have probably gotten to the crash. So it's definitely worth it sometimes in order to eliminate further issues. Is it an inconvenience? 100%. I get it. Just because I have to do it, or sometimes have to talk to you about it, doesn't mean I like it. I just break it down for it is what it is, right? I love that phrase a lot. It is what it is. It could be a little passive aggressive sometimes. I like using it with an attitude, but in this situation, it is what it is. A crash occurred. The road must get shut down in order to protect anybody on the scene, in order to collect the evidence and investigate the crash, and for me, number 3, probably one of the bigger ones, in order to avoid secondary crashes. Especially if it's a minor one where, yeah, okay, you got a flat tire, the vehicle's disabled or something, and then next thing you know, you've got someone cruising up on the scene, going through the cones, slamming into a car, and a minor crash is now a fatal homicide investigation. So it's the little steps that we've got to take in order to inconvenience a few folks, make sure everything's okay, but still kind of go through the process and fix everything. That's a really nice truck. Ever since being in Results 1, I want a truck. Yeah, I want a truck bad. But I'm broke. Can't do that, so I stick to my little car. But yeah, the roadway shutdown, it's something that we just have to understand, but how do we eliminate it? Stop crashing. Pay attention every single day. And when you are coming up on traffic, be situationally aware. So often we come up on these calls and these crashes and we don't know until we're there. You should not, okay, here's something I do every day. See this blue truck in front of me? All right, Chevy Colorado, whatever. I'm looking at that car, but I'm also looking ahead of that. I tend to look at the second or third car up ahead because it's going to determine the actions of the vehicle in front of me. So if I could see that a closure is up ahead, why am I doing 70 and a 70? I should begin to slow my speed down so no further issues do occur. And that's how we avoid this stuff. That's also how you avoid the frustration about a road being blocked because you don't like it being blocked. Hope I'm making just a tiny bit of sense here, just a little bit. So if you're joining us this morning, what we just spoke about were the reasons why roads get shut down for an extended period of time. 1, if a crash occurs and your vehicle is movable and no one is hurt, you are allowed to move your vehicle from the travel lanes. Now, if your vehicle is not drivable because of the crash that you sustained, totally get it. But let's go, dude. Get in the travel lane. Sitting there emerging last minute. And that's how crashes occur too. This guy's like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, so you've got, in order to protect everybody on the initial scene, then of course in order to investigate the crash, and then it gets closed to avoid any secondary crashes. So those are the big 3 things there, guys. Today was super simple. Love explaining simple stuffs in the truck. You can join me today in the 9 a.m. I will be live in the studio today. We're going to have a Serving Those Who Serve. Love that topic. And then, of course, I'll knock out the traffic here in just a second for you guys. But I will be in studio this morning hanging out with you guys. So I am going to pull back into the News 6 studio, do what we got to do. For now, thank you for joining me this morning. Take it easy, guys. Drive safe and have a great day. And you know what I'm going to say. Wear your stinking seatbelt.